Well, good evening, welcome all. We'll call our 6:30 Committee of the Whole meeting for Monday, February 13th to order. We'll jump into the Parks and Recreation presentation on the master plan, and we'll invite our Parks and Rec leaders to come on up. And I know you have a presentation for us. All right.
Hello, my name is Erin Nowak, and I am the chair of the Parks and Recreation Committee. I'm here with my colleague Libby, and we are here to present the commission with the proposed 2023 Walker Parks Master Plan and tell you a little bit about how it was created and what's included. So this is a timeline of how we got to today. The last approved master plan for the parks for Walker is from 2004, so almost 20 years ago. A plan was made by Veritas in 2014, but it was mostly left behind. We did do some projects like the community park project, but it was never adopted officially and not followed through all the way. In 2020, obviously, things shifted a lot for the way we live and the way we use our parks and our green spaces. So the commission saw it fit to recreate the Parks and Rec Committee. So members applied, were vetted, approved, and appointed by Mayor Carey, and in early 2022, we began to meet. Our first order of business was to get to know our parks, all 8 of them, if you're not counting City Central as 2 parks, which we didn't. So we visited in April and May 2022. We visited all 8 parks and took inventory about what was there so we could see how to move forward. When we went to the parks, they were all evaluated according to the same criteria. We took inventory of facilities. What was there? Do they have restrooms? Are there ball fields? Are there trails? We also measured ADA compliance. ADA compliance is a huge facet of the DNR standards, which are important for grant selection, which is a big reason to have a master plan, so that when you apply for grants, you have projects ready to go, you have a plan, and the DNR looks at ADA compliance. So we have to look at that. So that's part of the inventory of the parks. We recorded maintenance needs. We cataloged the natural resources and highlighted opportunities for improvement. The next step, now that we knew what we had, was to kind of decide where we were going. So we created a mission statement so that as we move forward as a group, we had our goals in mind and written down. So if we kind of went off base, we could come back and say, okay, but what are our goals? We base these by looking at the outline for the creation of the Parks and Rec Committee, which was laid out by you, the City Commission. So this is a statement that was put forth by the City Commission. And this is what was adopted in August as the mission statement for the Parks and Rec Committee. Stating that the goal of the master plan for the City of Walker Parks is to create a park system that is equitable, environmentally responsible, and engaging. The parks and green spaces must be accessible and appropriate to the wide range of citizens as well as visitors, including ADA compliant equipment and facilities, attractions, activities, and environments that are appealing to a wide audience in all seasons. This should be based on input from citizens of all demographics as well as consideration of what is needed for the larger surrounding area. A new plan must adhere to the idea of environmental stewardship. We must look with an innovative eye towards sustainable, maintainable facilities and equipment. We look to preserve the land that we already hold and seek opportunities to acquire and restore spaces and waterways. Additionally, our environmental impact will be improved with facilities upgrades and educational programs. Finally, we seek to build engagement. Engagement starts with the planning and decision-making process, which will include multi-leveled and diverse engagement with the public, but also reach across various departments within the city. With well-signed parks, diverse offerings, and spaces well supported by both the public and government, we hope to provide within Walker a safe and welcoming recreation destination for all. So what it shakes down to is the mission statement essentially came to three tenets: equity, environmental stewardship, and engagement. As we were nailing down this mission statement, we also began to work on getting this master plan created. So the first step was an RFP was issued in May. We received proposals and evaluated the applicants using a matrix. We had 3 firms that applied. They were all evaluated carefully. And in the end, we hired Veritas, or we recommended Veritas to you, the City Commission. RFP applicants were evaluated on the following: their organizational alignment, the quality of their work, their ability to understand representation issues, as we are highlighting equity as one of our goals, past experience in Walker, budgetary resistance, and the scope of their work. So Veritas really stood out, especially with their past experience in Walker. They were key in the community park project, so they have recent experience in Walker too, as well as coming in kind of middle in budget, so they were the front runner. So once we had Veritas on board, we began with community engagement because we wanted to get as much feedback as possible. From September through October, and even a little bit into November, online survey was available to gather input from the community. At the same time that they were getting community engagement, Veritas did their own assessment of the park. So the assessment that was the master plan is based on is not our own, but also Veritas's professional information and opinion. As the information was collected, it was collected in a few different ways. So feedback from the community was gathered at 2 in-person events. The first was held at Alpine Estates Park on September 15th, and the second was at the Pumpkin Bash, which thousands of people came through, so we feel like we had a good sampling there. In addition to these in-person events, we had the online survey up for a couple months. And in addition to this being promoted through the Walker website and Walker Facebook page, members of the committee reached out also to local PTAs, community Facebook groups, as well as posting it on signs in the park and having QR codes and links to the survey available at local businesses. So once we had the feedback, Veritas started to assemble the master plan. The first draft of the master plan was completed December 5th. It was reviewed by the committee and posted for public comment for 30 days. The committee reviewed it both working closely with Veritas and also in private work session. And we came together. A final plan was accepted by the Parks and Rec Committee January 24th, which brings us here to the next step. So today we are here. A draft of the plan has been submitted to you, the commission, and we are here today for public comment and also with the hopes of gaining approval so we can adopt this plan and start working on some stuff. And Libby is going to tell you a little bit more about what's in the master plan now that you know how it was created.
All right. Hi, my name is Libby Bigelow. I'm one of the committee members for the Walker Parks and Recreation Department. Thank you for having us tonight. All right, so I'm going to highlight first the goals in our master plan now that we have walked through how we arrived at the steps. The goals highlighted in our master plan are focused around enhancing our existing facilities to improve the quality and variety of use, increasing our environmental stewardship, increasing partnerships with our outside organizations seeking both partner participation and funding, identifying opportunities for land acquisition, park expansion, and trail connection, and stimulating engagement and increasing quality of life for our Walker community. Our action plan includes, but is not limited to, minimizing costs, improving our existing facilities, expanding trails, conserving, preserving, and enhancing our natural areas, and planning for future parks. So our master plan highlights our capital improvement projects to potentially be completed in the next 5 years. So you're going to see a list of items for each of our parks. Now, these are not necessarily going to be everything that we are going to accomplish in the next 5 years. As Aaron had stated, the DNR does release all of these grants, and we do want to have a list of items available, so that way if we do get the funding for these, we have items readily available to tackle. Also makes us, more of a good recipient for these grants. Projects that are listed are going to be evaluated by cost, community need, and how they are related to the goals as set forth by the City Commission and our Parks and Recreation Committee. So the first one that we have listed with a map of the park is Lincoln Lawns. So that's going to be off of Lake Michigan Drive. We're going to look to expand our parking, resurface and increase the accessibility, replace the playground equipment, it's pretty aged there, and add additional community requested features that was listed in our community survey feedback, like the dog park, restrooms, and exercise stations. A lot of green space there, a lot of potential to add a lot of things that our community will really be able to engage with. The next park we have listed is Harmon Field. This is going to be down Sunset, south of where Lincoln Lawns Golf Course used to be. Looking to update the playground equipment and facilities for accessibility, increased function and safety, expand the internal pathways, and add in community desired amenities that were also listed on that survey. Disc golf course, restroom facilities, as of now there aren't any, and pickleball courts, which are becoming very popular if you guys haven't heard. All right, the next one up is English Hills. So we are looking to improve the playground equipment and baseball field that already exists there and increase the accessibility. There's native habitat restoration that has a really good opportunity there, and look at the addition of community desired amenities, also pickleball courts there, nature trails, natural playscape, and restroom facilities, all which would be very desirable. The last one that has a map included would be City Central, which I think you guys are all pretty familiar with. So that would be to reorient, relocate, and enhance the existing ball fields. Those would be the ones I think on the south part of the ball fields, which would be behind the fire station. There's a lot of sun that hits the players' eyes when they're playing, so that would be an improvement that we're looking at doing. Looking to improve landscaping, trails, and accessibility, extend the sidewalks, and add additional community requested features. Splash pad and farmers market were very widely requested when we did the survey feedback. Once we don't have pictures of the maps for Alpine Estates, that's the one off of 3 Mile, looking to update playground equipment and facilities for accessibility, increased function and safety. Orchard Ridge, looking to increase accessibility and add a picnic shelter, possibly some garden plots, benches, just make it an overall more welcoming environment. Community Park gets a lot of traffic now, especially with the free events that we host there with the free summer concerts. It's very popular, but with that, we're also looking at a lot more visitors and use there, so resurfacing the asphalt and increasing the accessibility there would be great. It already has some ADA compliant toys and things there, so that's already a good step in the right direction. West Chesterfield is a little community park, so we'd be looking to add a picnic shelter, garden plots, benches, addition of a nature trail, and because it's kind of isolated, maybe a police call box just for safety for the community members. So having a master plan enhances many of our processes. It guides the commission regarding budgetary considerations. It supplements the City of Walker master and capital improvement plans, and it also gives us eligibility for grants from the DNR and other sources as they're released throughout the year. So grant sources, there's the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, Land and Water Conservation Fund, MDOT Transportation Alternatives Program, Clean Michigan Initiative, local recreation grants, the West Michigan Trails and Greenways Coalition, DNR Sparks grants, and more. So lots of opportunities to help supplement this so where all the money's not coming out of Walker and we can still be solvent.
So, excuse me, in the span of the past year, with the help of City of Walker staff, with the help of Viridis, we have evaluated the park system. We've engaged with the community to see what their needs and requests are. And we enlisted the assistance of the professionals at Viridis to create a master plan for our parks to increase the community engagement, elevate our environmental efforts, and create equity in how our parks are enjoyed and by whom. So that's what we bring to you today. There's a lot of people who have offered their time, their talents. So we appreciate everyone that's helped us all along the way, by whether it's, giving us input, or some of you have taken time out to come to the Parks and Rec meetings, and, we really appreciate it all. So now we'll open the floor up for questions if anyone has them, and we're happy to chat.
Awesome. Thank you, Aaron and Libby. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to come on here. Before I jump to the commissioners, I'm going to ask our assistant city manager if there's any additional feedback or insight you'd like to tee this up with.
I think there's a couple of things. There are some edits that I've received from you folks about some clarification on a couple of maps and some text changes that maybe are more in line with some of the thoughts when it comes to potential land acquisitions and what have you, those kind of things. Just to identify more clarification and edits that are fairly minor that I think we can handle just at the staff level. On the capital improvement plan, which is page 95 in your parks plan, I did send you an updated version of that. And I want to point out that the last column is labeled priority. We put priority in there because we wanted the city commission to see the priorities that the committee had come up with. My advice would be for the final document that we remove that priority column. And the reason for that is not to disregard anything that these folks have done, but when it comes to applying for grants, DNR would automatically look towards the highest ranked first, as you would expect them to. And if something comes up where we want to apply for something that maybe didn't rank high, maybe it ranked medium, that's probably going to mark us down on the grant application. So my advice would be to remove the priority column from page 95. Everything else is intact. We do have a few edits to make to the text. Other than that, I think the plan was very well done. These folks did an excellent job. The public was very involved all the way through. And the last thing I would leave you with is if you want a recommendation, just my opinion on this, we do have a budget going through right now. We are looking at the first draft of the budget for next fiscal year. And my advice, based on feedback from staff, would be that if you look on page 95 under City Central Park, the first line item, to regrade the south soccer fields and landscaping as an accessible path in the parking lot for $300,000. I think we have an ongoing drainage issue in that area, and our seasonal youth soccer program tends to get either rained out or sogged out on that site, one way or the other. And this is something that we've needed for quite some time. So that would be my advice to, as we go through the budget, to look at that potentially for this coming fiscal year for that project would be for $300,000. And then in land acquisition, we have 3 properties that we've called out in Ward number 1. And my advice would be that we either create some kind of a parks grant sinking fund or something that we put into the budget, and the new capital improvement committee maybe can talk about this, so that as we apply for grants, we have a source of money to have the match available. And we can work out the amount at the committee for how much you might want to put into a sinking fund like that. Other than that, we have a lot of action items to follow through. I don't think we're going to get through everything on page 95 within 5 years, but if you can do 1 or 2 a year, as long as the budget remains stable, obviously, then we will do some good work out there. And I think the committee would also like to work with our Department of Public Works and our Parks Department, not only on some programs and educational opportunities, but maybe we can look at different ways of fertilizing and mowing that maybe meet more of the environmental standards that are laid out in the plan as well. So overall, that's kind of a summary from my standpoint. We're more than willing to take comments. We do have two separate items at the 7 o'clock meeting. One is a public hearing that's been duly noticed, both online and in the newspaper. And then you have a resolution later in the agenda to potentially adopt, even with some minor conditions, the overall park plan, 5-year park plan. So that's enough from me. I'll get out of the way. Gladly take some questions.
Yes, thank you. Commissioner Burke, we'll start down there.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to echo the sentiment of really appreciate all the work you've done on this. It's been a huge effort, I can tell. I've read through this thing now like 3 or 4 times with a lot of interest because, you know, I really am one of those who's very interested in getting more green space, especially up in Ward 1. So I like the way that the document has evolved a little bit to reflect that. I did have one question. I don't want to go over all the stuff I sent you, Frank, but one question about if you could go back to the slides of the diagram, the park diagram. Can you go back to those? The one with English Hills, please. Yeah, there. So, as I understand it, and I hope I'm wrong, Frank, but I think I'm right. We don't own that bit yet, right? So that's still an aspirational goal, right?
Correct. There are 3 components on that plan that you see laid out. There is an 11-acre piece of property that has some, in my opinion, very high-quality natural features. We do not own that. It's called out as a parcel for potential acquisition. So that is on page 95, the 3rd item under land acquisition, English Hills, adjacent 11-acre parcel to the east. I hope we can get that. That's a process of negotiation with the property owner and then through DNR, but we do not own that. We obviously own the park, and we're in the process of getting almost 4 acres from the developer of English Hills to the north of the park. And that includes 2 fingers that wrap around English Hills Park that we currently do not own as a city. So you have to trespass essentially to get to the park, so we're going to clean that up as well. The other interesting thing on this is years ago, on the east side of this 11 acres, right where you see that 11 acres kind of come to a triangle where it leads into the strip mall where the Petco is and what have you. The city owns what used to be called the Spite Strip that went to tax sale. So that 11 acres is actually, by the time the city gets the 3 acres and we have with the Spite Strip to the east, that property will be landlocked. And so when we look at that, then the city really has a unique opportunity here, in my opinion, to pick up a piece of property that has some mature hardwood forest and bisected by ravines that can really be a cool natural area for that part of town. And it'll fit in well with the English Hills redevelopment and all of the land preservation that's in that cluster plan as well. That's our first high-density, low-density cluster design development that the Planning Commission worked a long time on. So there's an opportunity, I guess the nutshell is to improve that park, make it better for everyone in the neighborhood, and then also preserve a lot of green space that would typically just get knocked down.
Okay, yeah, I got all that. I love it. But the plan doesn't show it that way right now, right? So the package shows it as if we own it in several places and several pages in the document.
Yep.
And then on pages 91 and 92 where it has potential land acquisition, that 11-acre parcel is not listed. So I would just ask that we clean that up
We will do that.
in this plan so that we can make sure we're accurately reflecting where we are now.
Definitely do that for you.
Okay. And Mayor, I don't want to get past 7, but just a couple other thoughts, if you don't mind, ladies, and we can talk more maybe after this. But the farmer's market did jump out at me looking through it. The what do you call the splash pad jumped out. Lots of people who responded to the survey, like 81% of the people said they wanted more open park, green space preserved. So that was loud and clear from the survey anyway. One thing that did strike me is, and you discuss it, it's discussed a little bit by Veritas, but maybe we could discuss it a little bit more, think about it a little bit more clearly. Last year when we were talking about adding to the library, building a new library, we said, well, we were this size 20 years ago. Now the population of the city is this size. The library therefore needs to be X bigger. And Commissioner Chase and I were talking a little bit about libraries and how she goes to Granville, I go to Comstock Park. I think there is something to that in this document as well. A lot of folks do go to Millennium Park. A lot of folks do go to Johnson Park, Liddell Park up by me in Comstock Park, Riverside Park. There are a lot of parks, good-sized parks in the area. But if you drive through Commissioner Gilbert's neighborhood, my neighborhood, lots of neighborhoods, there's nothing. So I think maybe we should look harder at pocket parks or mini parks or just something. You know, that little piece of land on Ferris and Miller, okay, it's a little corner block, but if you got young kids, it'd be awesome. So a little more thought maybe to just spending small dollars on little pocket parks and mini parks just to get communities, places to go. Even if we can't get a full community park up in Ward 1, maybe we can get more neighborhood and pocket parks throughout the city. I think that's something I'd like to see us explore more. That didn't jump out at me in the document, but the rest of it I quite liked, and I really appreciate all your efforts. Thanks.
Commissioner Shea?
Yeah, I can, I've got a lot written down, but I'll try to streamline here. I agree. I'm excited about pocket parks. I think that's a great idea. I hadn't really thought about that, but Commissioner Burke is right. You guys did a fantastic job putting this together. I know there's a lot of detail that you went through, and I sat in a few of your meetings prior, and I was at one of the events with you, and I know that you guys have really put your heart and souls in that, and I greatly appreciate that. Love a committee that's very active and engages with the community, and I think that you guys really listen to what we're looking at. I know that pickleball is very, very important to the city of Walker. I'm glad I'm on camera saying that. And I think that we really need to just really make it happen somehow. So I'm glad that that's in there. I also am excited to see the word grants. Seems like there's, what was there, like 10 different opportunities for us to work with. I guess my question is going to be directed a little to Frank. Who would be writing these grants? Would it be staff?
It would be similar to what we do with our road grants.
Okay.
Obviously, we don't have a Grand Valley Metro Council, we have the DNR. So you establish a relationship with the DNR, which we've already done. We haven't had a DNR grant for parks since 1991. We have talked to DNR, and they are interested in, they're saying, where's Walker, which is good. And then we would most likely use Veritas, that'd be my recommendation.
Yeah, that's great.
Because they're very familiar with putting these grant applications together. As you would expect, they're fairly complicated, they involve a lot of material, and I think Veritas, much like we use our engineering consultants to write many of our grants and manage our grant projects, I think that would be my recommendation for parks as well.
Perfect, thank you. And then my last comment would be, yeah, soccer program definitely have drainage issues. My daughter is going to be 21 in August, and I remember when she was, elementary, wet feet, really, I mean, it was a lot of canceled games, so it's probably time for us to do something, take a deeper dive on that situation. So I agree with you on that, Frank. Thank you.
And if it would be, please the commission, we'll take a pause on this. We'll open up the 7 o'clock hearing, and let's pick this back up, if it pleases the commission, after the approval of minutes before the public hearing, because some of the attendees may be here to discuss, and I think they'd want to hear the rest of our comments coming around. So is that fair, Camille? All right, so that being said, ladies, if you want, you grab a seat, but not too long. We will call our 7 o'clock regular city commission meeting to order for Monday, February 13th, 2023. I'd like to invite Commissioner Gilbert to please deliver the invocation, lead us in Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Heavenly Father, we thank you for being here with us today as we gather to serve on behalf of the people of the city of Walker. We thank you for all of the beauty here in our city and all that we have to preserve, and we ask tonight that you offer the guidance to do what is best for those who we are here to serve in our community. And Lord, we ask that you protect those who serve and protect our community and our country, and we thank you for giving us the opportunity to represent our city and the residents of Walker. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you. I'd like to ask the audience to please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. If I could please ask our clerk to call the roll.
Mayor Carey,
Present?
Commissioner Burke,
Present.
Commissioner DeShane,
Present?
Commissioner Chase,
Present.
Commissioner Babcock,
Present.
Commissioner Gilbert.
Present.
All right, next on the list is the approval of Commissioner Groder's excused absence. I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
I'll make a motion.
I'll support.
Commissioner Chase, Commissioner DeShane, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you, we're good. Next on the list is the approval of minutes from the January 23rd, 2023 City Commission meeting. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support, please.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Chase, Commissioner Burke, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Now we'll pick back up with our comments, and I'm going to turn, Commissioner Shane, were you done?
I'm done.
Okay. All right, Commissioner Chase.
I just wanted to thank you guys for your hard work that you did. There's a lot of great information in here, and looking forward to see what's going to happen going forward with these grant applications for sure.
Commissioner Babcock.
Good job, ladies. I've spent a lot of time with them, and they really have taken what the community members have said to heart. So preserving the green space, I think, was probably one of the largest comments that we got. Also, equity in Ward 1 was another one, and I think the way that you guys made sure that was a priority in the master plan is fantastic. Also, the pickleball courts, we heard that one loud and clear, and hopefully can get something in the works with that. One thing that I didn't hear that was said when we were creating this, we kind of made it a little bit more broad to allow us flexibility with the grants. So that in the future, if something different comes up, if a community member has a different idea, if we come up with something else, it's more flexible so we can have the ability to do that. So I appreciate that we did that in the plan, so we have that to look forward to in the future. Neighborhood parks, I think, too, is another priority, especially in Ward 1, that parcel that Commissioner Burke pointed out should be definitely a priority for us to look into and agree on the soccer fields as well. We've heard a lot about the drainage, and I know that it's becoming more and more popular to have the kids playing, so that we're running out of space. And as a mom with a son who's about to start playing, having the last minute changes in where you're going to play and if you're going to play isn't very feasible when you have multiple kids in multiple sports. So agree that that's also a priority. And then thank you to everybody for all your hard work. And again, just wanted to shout out State Rep Glanville for all the prep work she did prior to me joining the committee, making it a lot easier for me in my role. So that's it.
Awesome, thank you. Commissioner Gilbert?
Yeah, I mean, I echo basically everything that's been said so far. I appreciate all of the good commentary that's been provided already and all of the work that's been gone into this. I have a ton of things that I could provide comment on, but a lot of it gets granular and at a certain point not productive. So I'll just say I appreciate all the work that's gone into this. I appreciate Commissioner Burke specifically's advocacy on behalf of our ward of the city. I think that he's done a lot of the yeoman's work in being that voice for our constituents, and yeah, I think there's a lot that can be done, a lot to do, but I think that we've got a very clear plan here, and I think it presents us with a lot of opportunities for growth, and I look forward to getting into it moving forward.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, I know your family spends a lot of time there, so you have an opportunity. I know you don't have a vote, but, okay. Few things, I won't rehash anything. Thank you, both of you. This is absolutely awesome, and looking at the presentation this afternoon, there's a lot of sweat equity that's been put into this. I'd support the prioritization of the City Central field and drainage upgrades. I too, like Commissioner DeShane, had 3 kids come through there over the years, and you just made sure not to wear white tennis shoes out there on Saturday mornings. It's still, I don't believe it's gotten any better. Secondly, one thing, and Frank, I missed this, so this is on me, was we have talked for some time, and I know we've talked up here as a governing body about Community Park and adding accessibility to Fire Station 2 and to the parking lot there. It's just ensuring that is something and I'm gonna use the word accessibility there, somebody that might not be as mobile as others. We wanna make sure it's not just, it can't be a wood chip path, it can't be a stone path. It's not going to be inexpensive, and I think we're all aware of that, but I think we've talked before that that's a priority to make sure. And I remember when we first got the sidewalks in there, how long ago was it with, Community Park, we put those sidewalks in 14, 13?
Yeah, I think it was 14 into 15, so it's been a while.
But what an impact. You didn't see wheelchairs having to go through wet ground anymore. So that really showed our priorities as a city. Third thing, English Hills. I want to read the natural habitat. We had a chance a few years ago to walk that, and some of those, there's 150-year-old, some of those red oak trees that were on the hill. And when you look at the natural habitats, and I'll say that plurally, that are located within those grounds, it really is an opportunity for what is starting to become another high-growth area there. Yes, you have the neighborhood known as English Hills and Coventry Woods up there that's been pretty stable for some time, but now you're going to have 550 plus units come online, and even though that there will be a community area in the middle of that complex, there's still something to be said for having other amenities in that area. I think as a community we can do that. And that brings me to my last point. We have talked for a long time. The first ward, despite having Alpine Estates and English Hill, I mean, it has been a very underrepresented, the most underrepresented ward in the city, and I'm glad to see we're prioritizing that as appropriate. So, good job on that. Any other feedback before I open up the public comment?
Just one thing, Mayor, I'm okay with deleting the prioritization if you think it's gonna help with state grants, but I'm gonna keep me a copy. There's some high priorities on there, Frank. I wanna make sure we're reminded of what the high priorities are.
Yes.
We'll definitely keep that as a reference, and probably for the new infrastructure committee, we'll keep a copy of this on hand. I've got a long list of edits that need to be made. They're essentially everything that you folks have said tonight to wrap into the plan. And so if you're okay, if we get to that point of conditional approval, if you would just say with the edits as noted to staff, then I think we'll be okay. Definitely let the commission, I'm going to generate an email tomorrow that says here's all the changes we need to make, Viridis, before we put the final seal on this thing. So I'll let you guys look at that. Let me know if I left anything out.
All right, good, thank you. Commissioners, any other questions of Libby or Aaron? Before I invite them, they can take a rest. All right, you can grab a seat for a second then, thank you. Next on the list, and I see we have far more public than normal. The next part of this, so I'll very clearly spell these out, is the public hearing on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan and the Master Plan only. So anybody wishing, actually we should take a motion to open up that public hearing. So I'll entertain a motion for approval and support to open up.
So moved.
Thank you, Commissioner Gilbert. Commissioner Burke, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? The hearing is open. Anyone wishing to speak on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan proposed adoption, and on that topic alone, please feel free to come up to the mic. And as you would come up there, hi there, we're back. Love to see you back. If you'd press that button there, that red light will come on. Perfect.
Okay. Suzanne Schmieder, 2508 Falcon Point Drive. I've been here before about pickleball courts, and I know I've communicated with a few of you. What I don't understand about the plan is, and I'm sorry I'm late, so it could have been said, is it to have one or two courts at a park here and there, or is it, are you going to have like at least 4 courts somewhere? And the reason I ask that is because so much of pickleball is a social game and is works well with open play. It's not like tennis. You can bring your foursome, and if you only have 1 or 2 courts and you bring your foursome, then you definitely have to have some kind of rules for the public, because you could come up and not be able to get in a game for hours if you're waiting for a court. So that has to be dealt with. And then, but if there are at least like 4 courts in one spot, then you can designate, like, these are open play times, you know, morning and after work or something like that. And then people know that they can come up and join in a game without having to get a foursome. And that's the beauty of pickleball. It's so unlike tennis in that respect. And that's why so many people like it. And it's not for seniors only. The average age of a pickleball player is 38. So we've got to get it out of our minds that this is just for us retirees, because it's not. I am part of the board for the Grand Rapids Pickleball Club. We have over 1,300 members, and we probably will get another 200 over this summer. And we're just, I mean, we're expanding at Belknap. We've got 21 courts now in one spot, and we're hoping to get land for more there. But the need is still there to open up larger areas. And when I say larger, I mean at least 4 designated courts. So, and then, not against you guys, because I know spell check does this, but pickleball is one word. So when you're writing, that's something, I mean, to me it jumps out, maybe because I'm, you know, an enthusiast, but it jumps out that, does this person even know the sport? That, you know, and do they know what's involved? And so that leads me to, when you plan this, will you be talking to some experts? And I'm not saying I'm an expert, but people that know how to plan an area, which direction it faces, where the opening should be for entering and exiting. You know, it's a sport for wheelchair, you know, and there's, like, at Belknap, we neglected that. And we have to redo something so that we can get our wheelchair-bound players in. And so all those things should be looked at, and if you have somebody in the business of planning a park and then can get you through all the steps, I think that's a good choice. And I did pass that on to somebody that, the name of somebody that does that, so. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else in the public wishing to speak on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan? Please. As you come forward, just share your name and your street address and for the record.
Thank you. My name is James Sturkin. My address is 3460 Bayberry Drive Northwest here in Walker. And I'm not normally here at these sort of things, and I just I read through what I could of the master plan for the parks, and I believe that it is logical and well thought out and well put together. The thought I had is that the main limit to what we would like to do is budgetary, and that, you know, we have tremendous ideas for what should be done, but some of these properties are expensive. I believe, maybe you can clarify, but I believe that parcel number 3 on the proposed acquiring parcels is the same parcel that's subject to development proposal that's been tabled. It was subject to a meeting on February 1st. Can anyone verify that for me? Same parcel, 49 acres? Okay. The reason I wanted to speak is I'm an attorney, and oddly enough, I've been thinking about this, and I have a couple of spare hours over the weekend, and I looked it up. And has anyone looked at leveraging conservation easements to help perhaps create a win-win for both the city as well as the current property owner? I can give a brief thumbnail of how it works and what I found in my research, which is typically they're used either for agriculture or open space preservation. In Kent County, I think the vast majority have been used for agriculture, where a farm owner will agree not to develop his land in the future, will get tax benefits for doing so, but will retain and own that land subject to the restrictions. And in that particular parcel, given the proposed development, the highest use value of that parcel would be very, very high. Multifamily units being proposed, you're looking at a very high value of that property as it's currently zoned. If the owner, and I have not approached them or wouldn't even begin to know how, but if they were amenable to granting conservation easement and agreeing not to develop that property, one of the satisfactory reasons is to preserve outdoor recreation and education. If they were agreeable to consider such a thing, they would garner significant tax benefits, yet they would retain control and ownership of that property. My thought is that's fine. They can get significant tax benefit now while the city of Walker puts together a sinking fund or what have you, and when the time is right and the budget is right, could buy that property from the owners at a reduced price than what it would be from its high commercial value. So we know it's not going to get acquired tomorrow because the money isn't there. The developer isn't making anything in the meantime while proposals are being considered and what have you. Just want to publicly participate with an idea that I had that I thought might be beneficial to both parties. So I thank you all for your time.
Good. Thank you, Mr. Strachan. Anyone else in the audience wishing to speak on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan? Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you for your comments. I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Motion support, please.
I'll support.
Commissioner Chase, Commissioner DeShane, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, thank you. Now for audience members, the next step is public comment on agenda items and agenda items only. Is there any public wishing to comment on agenda items this evening? Going once, going twice. All right. Next on the list is the consent agenda. We have 3 items. First is the expenditures in the amount of $1,861,297.67. The second is the Center Drive and Weatherford Drive easement agreements. The third is engineering services agreement for the Standale Downtown DDA, should be Standale Downtown Development Authority, street lighting project. Is there any discussion on any of the 3 items? Or any questions? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support then, please.
So moved.
Commissioner Gilbert, have support?
Support.
Commissioner Babcock. See no further discussion. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Thank you. Our consent agenda is adopted. Next on the list is Resolution 23-360, approval of the new Parks and Recreation Master Plan. I will take a pause here. I'm going to come around the horn. Is there any additional discussion? The recommendation from our Assistant City Manager is a approval subject to the, I want to word your piece, to the notes, clarifications that need to be made into the plan. So with that, with an approval for that. Is there any other discussion on said item? Seeing none, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support for Resolution 23-660 to adopt our new Parks and Recreation Master Plan.
Mayor, I'd like to move to approve Resolution 23660 with edits as provided to the Assistant City Manager.
Thank you. Commissioner Burke, do we have a support?
I'll support.
Commissioner DeShane. Any other discussion on this? Seeing none, I'll entertain, and all those in favor, please say aye. 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 Those opposed? Thank you. Resolution 23-660 is passed. Next on the list is an oversight on the mayor's part when we were doing our annual appointments. I missed appointing our mayor pro tem to the emergency planning committee meeting, or committee. Should something happen to mayor pro tem has to be up to speed on things. So you have a request to approve Commissioner Mayor Pro Tem Gilbert to the emergency planning committee in front of you. If there's no discussion, I'll entertain a motion for approval and support. Commissioner Gilbert, you can't do that either.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Babcock.
I'll support.
Commissioner Chase, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed, we're good. Thank you. Next, for our public, we have other public comment on agenda or non-agenda items. Anybody wishing to speak, please feel free to come forward up to the mic. Anybody? You all have things to do tonight, I know that. Does anybody want to come up and talk? All right, thank you very much. Let's start with Commissioner City Manager comments. City Manager Schmalzell.
Not too many. Just want to thank the Finance Committee. We had a very productive meeting last week for the first draft of our budget, and I think even having the draft recreation plan at that point helped us out to prioritize a couple of our projects that we're looking at for next year. So we'll continue to refine that budget in the next couple of weeks and continue to work on our capital improvement plan, meet with the Infrastructure Committee and probably later in March, and then we'll be back to the Finance Committee as we move forward to get our budget adopted by beginning of June. So thanks for all your help with that. And just that our office is closed next Monday for President's Day.
Awesome, thank you. Assistant City Manager.
Two quick items, because you've heard me talk a lot tonight, so I'll be brief. Steve has Planning Commission on Wednesday night. There's two items on that agenda. One is an expansion at West Pharma, all the way at the end of Wilson Court. So that's a good project. We got a tour of West Pharma. It's a very interesting place. They make rubber stoppers for all of the medical vials, so it's a very closed environment, careful environment, the way they do their things there. So that'll be a good project, and we'll see if they get approved on Wednesday night. And then what we call a precise plat is being amended a little bit for Northridge Drive from the intersection of Bristol Avenue and Northridge through the English Hills development. It's something that was on their plan as you folks approved, and it kind of fell through the cracks as the planners were moving around. So this will be essentially an engineering item to do a little bit of a realignment so that if the Ingman Farm ever develops, Northridge Drive will be in the right spot to make the connection at Bristol Avenue. And the last thing I'll say is thanks to everyone who was involved with this Parks Plan development. The best plans are those who involve a lot, they involve a lot of people, they take a while, the end result is much better, and I especially want to thank Commissioner Burke because he keeps us on point when it comes to all of the details, and that's very important, so I especially appreciate that. And that is enough.
Thank you. Speak of the devil, Commissioner Burke.
Great comments tonight, a lot of good stuff. I appreciate Mr. Sturkin's comments about that piece of property. We'll see how it develops. We're all thinking about various possibilities in a number of areas in that way. Pickleball is important. We're working on that. I think we've got some forecourt spots out in the plan that you presented, but we can make sure that we're meeting that need. Certainly we want to, if we're going to do it, we want to do it right. So thanks, that's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner DeShane?
Yeah, I'll echo Commissioner Burke's comments too. Good job, everybody. And congratulations to our PD for achieving their accreditation. I think that was a very, very successful, very proud of you guys. And then, yes, we had a very successful finance meeting. I cannot say what a great job Dan and city staff does getting prepped for that. Makes our jobs a lot easier.
Thank you. Commissioner Chase?
I'm all set.
Commissioner Babcock?
Just once again, thank you, Libby and Aaron and Hayden, who's not here, for all the work you put in. Now we can move forward. Thanks again.
Thank you. Commissioner Gilbert?
Yeah, again, thanks to everyone for the work on the master plan for the Parks and Recreation in the city. Good work has gone into it. The Finance Committee, good meeting. My wheels have been turning ever since we walked out of the room on ways to spend money. So, Yeah, lots of discussion to have, lots of priority setting needs to occur, but I think there's certainly some opportunities for us to make some important investments that many of which are long overdue. So we'll look forward to that process and coordinating that with the Mobility and Infrastructure Committee's work to, I guess, set that platform for how we're going to make those investments. Earlier today, I actually did have the chance to tour the waste energy facility for the county. That was really interesting opportunity to see just how that process works. I would say that if any of you ever are interested, we'd certainly love to have you there. And it's a unique experience to go with the 5 stories up and watch the trash go into the boiler. But yeah, really good experience. I was shocked at the way they run that process. It's 2 meetings a year for the advisory committee where we're represented. So it's something that, unless we choose to get pretty invested in it, there's not a lot of engagement to the city level. So we had some pretty pointed discussions on what some of the other cities are doing in terms of best practices and waste management, and how they're taking, in some ways, a more proactive approach to that. And I think certainly there's some opportunity to collaborate a little bit in how the policy decisions are being made through the Waste Energy Committee, and how some of the financing is occurring. And I think we've become a little bit aware that that's out there, but not acutely aware of how those discussions are proceeding. So just something for the radar screen a little bit that I think warrants some more thorough discussion. Some of the issues surrounding that, and some of the, I think, things to come, because they're doing some major capital investments there. The last thing I wanted to touch on is River Ridge. We had our Planning Commission meeting on the PASP Wednesday, February 1st. We tabled the proposal. We gave them a list of deliverables that we need to see before we can fully evaluate the plan. Much of it centered around water concerns, things like that, but I guess I go back to my personal concern about master plan compliance, and that is going to be my bottom line as we're going through that process. At the end of the day, is this aligned with the overarching goals of the city, and the ultimate decision that we're going to make is going to have to weigh that into everything else that has to be a part of it. So all that to say, the process is continuing to labor on. I've got remaining concerns that I don't know how they will manage to address, but just keep your ears to the ground. I'll be sure to let you guys know as things progress.
Good stuff. Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yep, just one thing. We were notified last week we will be holding a May 2nd election in the city of Walker. However, it does not include the entire city. Comstock Park has a bond proposal, which is about 166 voters in the city of Walker. And then Granville has an Operation Millage proposal on the ballot, which affects half of Precinct 7 and all of 8 and 9. So only those 2. We are looking at possibly merging the voters within Comstock Park School District with Alpine Township, because they do have a bigger population of Comstock Park residents. So the 166 voters, it is definitely in our interest to do that with budget and everything like that. So they will receive a letter if we do decide to go in that direction, clearly stating that this is for this election only, and then next year they'll be back at their regular precinct.
Thank you. Few things, I'll be brief here. The made me think, seeing Suzanne, she had just left, was I think back to the pickleball courts and kind of that historical perspective for those that weren't around. We were the only city park system to actually be open yet during the pandemic in this area. And we had the only pickleball court open, which happened to be next to some residential houses right next to them. And you know, in reflection back, we missed the mark of where we put that pickleball court. Therefore, we had to take it out because we created a noise nuisance that wasn't there before, and really a detraction to the neighbors there. So glad to see, you know, we've got a couple of courts back online. We can't get it quick enough. It's on ESPN now, for crying out loud. I mean, I get it. So just for the public record, we're not fighting it. Just we needed, we did a neighborhood very wrong in where we allowed that to go, and but the problem was it was really really exacerbated because of the pandemic. There's no choice. So for those that weren't around, that's why there's some that are very passionate about it. We moved our dispatch tour to Monday, March 20th at 5 p.m. I will forward the calendar invite. I was with both the emergency management coordinator and the new deputy, Scott Corbin, on Saturday night, and they're excited to have us. So it'll be Monday, March 20th at 5 p.m. and details to come where we'll meet there at the front door. A few people had mentioned the finance, and I do want to thank our city managers, particularly Daryl overseeing the budget piece, and our city treasurer, and just we are in a very good spot for a number of reasons. We have continued to have the industrial growth in the city. We're having the residential growth. With that growth comes additional needs, and it's not just, we know the Northridge area, Walkerview up there, we have a 60% influx of people that come in during the day that bump our numbers up. We're not flexing 60% of the day in staffing, and no, chiefs, we're not adding that number of people either. For the daytime thing, we'll continue to make strategic decisions there, but we have other needs that come from all that growth, and I'm excited about the Mobility and Infrastructure Committee having a hand in that. And when you look at not only what we're going to try and get off the ground this year, but what we have in '24, and then we have in '25, more than likely with the Fruit Ridge Bridge, what is going to be taking place in the city it's been decades, a long time since all these things are taking place all at one time. So we're able to do this comfortably because of the financial position our city managers and treasurers, the finance staff have put us in. So thank you to all of them. I'd be remiss, obviously the victory lap for Fruit Ridge is not done yet, in the acknowledgement, and I think finding out on a tarmac in Atlanta, we were about to take off on same flight, but separate vacations, and finding out that this was passing on the floor of the Senate was pretty special. So thank you, Senator Heisiga, who has been just a tremendous advocate and has been the tip of the spear on this for quite a few years now. Commissioner Glanville was an advocate on the floor with her colleagues of the House, and then obviously our city engineer, all he's done and what we've put him through over the years, and trying to get this done at just really exciting times. Last two things I'll bring us home with in my comments. A couple of us attended the Grand Rapids Chamber State of the Business, their annual address, and it was interesting to hear from Dr. Paul Isley from Grand Valley State, very renowned economist that's always on point with his forecast. From my perspective, he continues to be very bullish on our area and the financial outlook for the economy here locally. It's not the same around Michigan, and it's not the same around the country. We are just in a bit of a hot spot. And then the Econ Club also had another national economist in recently. Same things were said. Everybody continues to be bullish in our economy here in West Michigan, and some good things are happening. So it just, as we're making policy decisions, we have to invest that money that we've all contributed as taxpayers. We are able to do that, I think, with confidence. Last thing was I attended a Kent County Housing Needs Assessment the other day. There were some statistics provided, and the housing report just came out today, and I would imagine it's going to pick up steam in the news media tonight, tomorrow's news cycle. But, a couple takeaways from this. Affordable rental options within Kent County, it's near zero vacancy right now. I know that is the case in Walker. Our places are filled out, and they projected, or the current projection right now is City Grand Rapids has over 14,000 unit shortage. This is just in the rentals, and the rest of Kent County had 20,000 plus shortage. Median sale price of homes increased 99% in GR and increased 75% in the rest of Kent County since 2016. So you start to look at the pressures being put on. It's not just the pricing, it's not just the shortages in the housing, but then we hear too the Planning Commission did an incredible job the other night with the River Ridge. Not every place is the right place to put a development. And I would support the planning commission with them tabling it, and where they go with it from here. So I know we have some of those, the neighbors in the room from that as well. So just, we've done a very good job as a city here to not only help the rest of our West Michigan community, but, you know, we have some challenges, and we have businesses that come in, some we're not able to talk about yet out here from announcements forthcoming, and they want to know where their workers can live, and we want them here. But if there's no housing, there's no homes, it's hard to find them here. So we continue to try and do our best with that, and there's not a perfect answer for all of that. Before we adjourn, we have a lot of folks in the room. Is there any other desire for public comment? Anybody wanting to come up? All right, we normally don't do that, but we give you that shot. Next time we'll be here is Monday, February 27th. We do not have a work session on the 20th. So we'll be back here, unless city managers, I'm wrong, I didn't think we had one. Nope. So we'll be back here on the 27th at 6:30, and I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion.
Commissioner Chase? Commissioner DeShane, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Those opposed? We stand adjourned. Thank you.